Welcome, everyone, to a really specific deep dive today. We've got some fantastic source material provided by a listener.
Yeah, this is a bit different for us. We're looking at a source that's all about, actually building your English speaking confidence. It's a practical guide.
Right. And the source itself is kind of like a lesson structured as a dialogue. So we thought, why not lean into that? Honor the material.
Exactly. So we're going to adopt that style for this deep dive. We'll be repeating keywords and phrases, spelling them out,
Defining them clearly.
and giving examples.
Yeah.
All taken straight from this guide we're looking at. It's quite focused.
So yeah, if you're listening specifically to work on your confidence and vocabulary, maybe grab a notebook. It's part analysis, practical lesson.
And the source. As I mentioned, it's this chat between Alex, who's feeling pretty nervous about speaking English, making mistakes, and Emma, who's sort of coaching him, guiding him through it.
It's a really relatable setup, and our mission today is to pull out the actual language, the vocabulary, the phrases you can use right away, turn the advice into something, usable, actionable.
Precisely. We want to make the concepts stick. So let's get into it. Where should we start?
Okay, let's unpack this. We'll start right at the core with the fundamental building blocks of confidence discussed in the source. Right, first up, the absolute central idea, the goal of the whole thing, really. It's a verb phrase. Build confidence. This isn't something passive, it's active.
It really emphasizes the doing part, doesn't it?
Absolutely. So let's really focus on this phrase. Please listen carefully and maybe even repeat it aloud after me. Build confidence. Let's do that again. Builds confidence.
Good. Now, let's break it down and spell it out. 2 words here.
First word, build. B-U-I-L-D.
And the second word, confidence. C-O-N-F-I-D-E-N-C-E.
Okay, so we have the phrase. What about the meaning? How does the source define build confidence?
Well, this is where it gets interesting. The source uses a really clear visual analogy. It defines build confidence as making your sort of certainty or belief in yourself stronger, step by step. Yeah. And it explicitly says, like, you build a house.
Ah, okay, so not instant. It's a process, a construction project.
Exactly. It implies structure, foundation, adding layers over time. It's not like flicking a switch. It's methodical work.
That makes sense. So how does this construction project happen in real life, specifically with English speaking? The source gives an example, right?
It does, a very direct one. It says, speaking English every day helps you build confidence.
Simple, but powerful. The daily action is like laying a brick, maybe?
Precisely. If you think about that house analogy, maybe your basic grammar is the foundation. Vocabulary might be the frame. But the actual speaking, even if it's not perfect, that's putting up the walls, the roof. It's the visible progress.
Right. And you mentioned setting small goals. How does that fit in?
Well, setting small, achievable goals is a fantastic way to build confidence more quickly. Because each time you hit a small goal, maybe asking for directions or making a short phone call in English, it's like laying one perfect brick.
Okay.
It's a small win, but it proves to you that you can do it. It adds to the structure. You see the progress.
So it really shifts the focus, doesn't it? It's not about waiting until you feel confident to speak.
No, not at all.
It's about understanding that you build confidence by speaking, by doing the work, even when it feels a bit shaky. The feeling follows the action.
That's the core insight, I think. Action first. So maybe a good moment to pause and ask yourself, the listener, what's one specific thing you are doing or could start doing today to actively build confidence in your English? Just one small brick.
Okay, so if building confidence is the goal, we have to talk about the main thing that stops people from even starting the construction, the big obstacle.
Ah, yes. The unavoidable topic, fear. The noun, fear.
Let's say that word slowly together. Fear.
Fear.
It's a short word, F-E-A-R, but it carries so much weight.
Absolutely, F-E-A-R.
So the basic definition is pretty straightforward, right?
Yeah. Fear is that strong, often unpleasant internal feeling you get when you're scared or worried about something. Could be anything, really.
But in this context, learning English, it's usually not about physical danger. It's more psychological.
Exactly. It's the fear of judgment, the fear of looking stupid, the fear of not being understood, of making mistakes. It's that internal voice that just freezes you up before you even open your mouth.
The source actually gives a really common example sentence for this. It says, she has a fear of speaking in front of many people.
Classic performance anxiety, really. And it applies just as much to ordering coffee sometimes as it does to giving a presentation.
So if we broaden that out slightly, connecting it back to fluency.
You could say something like, overcoming the fear of making mistakes is often the very first and maybe the hardest step toward fluency. You have to tackle the fear before you can consistently practice.
And Alex, the student in the source dialogue, he voices this perfectly, doesn't he? He specifically mentions the fear that people will laugh at my mistakes.
Yes, and that's crucial because it highlights where the fear often comes from. This assumption that mistakes are somehow shameful or unacceptable.
Right. But Emma, the guide, she pushes back hard on that. She introduces this idea, we'll talk about more later, that making mistakes is normal.
That's the antidote, really. The insight here is that fear, especially in language learning, is deeply tied to perfectionism. We fear falling short of an impossible standard.
So step one is almost permission to be imperfect. Acknowledging the fear, but deciding the goal, communication, is more important.
Precisely. You have to accept that mistakes will happen, that discomfort is part of it, before you can really start to dismantle the fear. It doesn't vanish overnight, but you learn to act despite it.
Okay, so we've got the goal build confidence and the obstacle fear. Now, the source gives us a really powerful way to think about confidence itself, to make it feel less abstract, more tangible.
The muscle metaphor. Yes, this is a good one. The noun, muscle.
Let's say it slowly. Muscle.
Muscle.
Now, the spelling can be a little tricky with that secle ending. Let's spell it out.
M-U-S-C-L-E.
M-U-S-C-L-E. Okay, so the literal definition first.
Simple enough. A muscle is, a part of your body, tissue that contracts to produce movement or force, like your bicep or your leg muscles.
Right. We all know what a physical muscle is, but the source uses this word metaphorically, and this is really the key insight, isn't it?
Absolutely. The source states it directly. Confidence is like a muscle.
That reframes everything. Let's look at the examples the source gives to illustrate this. There's a literal one first.
Right. The literal example is he goes to the gym to train his muscles. Straightforward. Physical training.
Okay. But then comes the metaphorical application, which connects it back to our theme.
Yes. It says, the more you use your confidence, the stronger this muscle becomes.
Wow. Okay, let's unpack that metaphor because it's really rich. If confidence is a muscle.
Well, several things follow, right? First, muscles grow stronger with use, with exercise. So, speaking English, even when it's hard, is the exercise for your confidence muscle.
Okay, and what happens if you don't use a muscle?
It gets weaker, atrophy. So if you avoid speaking opportunities because of fear, your confidence muscle literally weakens over time.
So consistency is key, just like going to the gym regularly.
Exactly. And another thing about muscles, how do they actually get stronger? Through stress, through pushing slightly beyond their current capacity.
Progressive overload, they call it in fitness.
Precisely. You need to challenge the muscle. So for confidence, this means intentionally putting yourself in speaking situations that feel a little uncomfortable, a little challenging. That's what stimulates growth.
So it completely changes the game from thinking confidence is something you either have or don't have.
Right, like a personality trait.
To seeing it as something you actively train, build, and strengthen through deliberate, consistent effort and by embracing a bit of challenge. You have to work the muscle.
It makes it feel much more achievable, I think. More within your control.
Okay, so we've got the core vocabulary. Build confidence, fear, and muscle. Now let's move into section 2. Here, we're looking at key phrases from the dialogue that aren't just words, but actual usable advice. Actionable phrases for getting fluent.
Right. These are the mantras, almost, the things Alex needed to hear, and maybe you do too. So we touched on this already, but let's really focus on it. Alex's big hang-up, his starting point, was this belief, I must speak perfectly, which is just paralyzing.
Totally. Perfectionism is the enemy here. So Emma offers the counter phrase, the foundational truth, really.
Let's repeat this vital phrase slowly. Really let it sink in. Making mistakes is normal.
One more time. Making mistakes is normal.
Okay, let's zoom in on a couple of key words here for spelling.
Yeah.
First, the noun, plural. Mistakes.
That's M-I-S-T-A-K-E-S. Mistakes, plural, because you'll make more than one.
Exactly. And the crucial descriptive word, normal.
N-O-R-M-A-L. Normal, standard, expected.
So what does this phrase really mean beyond just the words? It's reassurance, obviously. But it's more than that. It's reframing.
How so?
It means understanding that mistakes aren't signs of failure or lack of intelligence. They are simply data points, evidence that you're learning, that you're pushing your boundaries.
Data points, I like that. So a mistake tells you, I need to work on this verb tense, or I wasn't sure of that word.
Precisely. They're signposts showing you where to focus your learning next. They are an inherent, unavoidable, and actually useful part of the process.
Yeah, the source compared it to learning to ride a bike, didn't it? You expect to fall down. That's how you learn balance. Falling isn't failure, it's just learning.
Exactly. So, making mistakes is normal when you practice English. It's not just okay, it's how progress happens.
Yeah.
Emma's advice in the source is basically acknowledge the mistake briefly, maybe learn from it later, but don't let it stop you speaking now. Don't dwell on it.
Okay, so if mistakes are normal, the next logical step is, well, you need to actually make some mistakes to learn from them, which means you need to speak consistently.
Right. When Alex asked Emma for concrete steps, the advice wasn't complex. It was about frequency.
Let's get this directive clear. Repeat it slowly. Try to speak every day.
Try to speak every day.
Now, the spelling focus here is on those last two words, making sure we understand them as separate words indicating frequency. Every day.
Every, then space, then day. Every single day.
And the crucial detail here, the really empowering part from the source, it wasn't about aiming for huge marathon speaking sessions, was it?
Not at all. This is key. Emma didn't say, you must speak for 90 minutes solid. She specifically suggested speaking even for 5 minutes.
Just 5 minutes, that feels manageable, even on a busy day.
That's the genius of it. It lowers the barrier to entry dramatically. It tackles procrastination head on. If the goal is just 5 minutes, it's much harder to say, I don't have time.
Yeah, it uses that micro-habits idea. Build the consistency first, then maybe worry about duration later.
Exactly. 5 minutes is enough to keep the confidence muscle engaged, to stop it from weakening like we talked about. It keeps the habit alive.
So what does that 5 minutes look like? It could be anything, right?
Absolutely. The source implies flexibility. Read your emails aloud, describe what you see out the window in English, talk to your pet in English, narrate making coffee, anything.
Just activating the speaking part of your brain.
Yes. The core message is, try to speak every day. Find those 5 minutes. That consistency is far more important initially than intensity or perfection.
Okay, this next one tackles a very specific, very common moment of panic for language learners. You're mid-sentence, feeling okay, and then blank. The word disappears.
The dreaded vocabulary gap. Alex brought this up directly. What if I forget words? And Emma's response is pure practical instruction focused on maintaining momentum.
Let's repeat this essential command. Don't stop speaking.
Don't stop speaking.
The key words here are the action, or rather, the inaction required. Don't stop. Let's spell that.
D-O-N-T, or D-O-N-O-T, and S-T-O-P.
So don't stop speaking means what exactly? Just keep making noise.
Not quite. It means prioritize keeping the conversation flowing, maintaining the communicative momentum, even if your perfect word fails you. It values fluency and connection over absolute precision in that moment.
Okay, but how? If you don't have the word, you don't have the word. How do you keep going?
Well, the source gives the crucial how-to. It doesn't just say don't stop, it tells you what to do instead. The advice is to use strategies like circumlocution. It says, use simple words, smile, and keep going.
Circumlocution. That means talking around the word you forgot.
Exactly. Describing it. Using simpler vocabulary you do know to get the meaning across. So if you forget efficient, you might say, it works well and doesn't waste time. If you forget appointment, maybe the time I need to meet the doctor.
Okay, so you find another way. And the smile and keep going part.
That's about maintaining confidence and positive interaction. A little smile signals, oops, temporary blank, but I'm still here, still communicating. It prevents the conversation from grinding to an awkward halt.
Right. So by practicing this, finding alternative phrasing, staying positive, you're actually building resilience. You learn you can handle these gaps. You're obeying the command, don't stop speaking.
Precisely. It trains your brain to be flexible and resourceful, which is a huge part of real-world fluency.
All right, let's move into section 3. We're shifting gears slightly here, looking at the broader mental strategies Emma shared with Alex. These are about cultivating the right mindset for growth and using language positively.
Yeah, this is the internal toolkit, the psychological side of building confidence. And we're going to treat the name of each strategy itself as a key vocabulary item to really focus on.
First strategy tackles a really common confidence killer, looking at other people and feeling inadequate.
Oh, the comparison trap. Yes. The source explicitly warns against comparing yourself to others, saying it can make you feel small or weak, which it absolutely can.
So what's the antidote? The source gives a very clear directive.
The key phrase is, focus on your own progress.
Let's repeat that. Focus on your own progress.
And let's spell the crucial noun here, the thing you should be looking at. Progress.
Progress. Progress. Your improvement.
So defining this phrase, it means deliberately shifting your attention inward. You measure yourself against your past self, not against someone else. How were you speaking last month, last year? Compared to that, how are you doing now?
Why is looking outward so bad?
Well, it's rarely a fair comparison, is it? You don't know how long that other person has been learning, what advantages they might have had, how much effort they've put in. You only see their current performance, not their journey.
Right. And the source says comparing makes you forget how much you have already improved. You ignore your own milestones because you're fixated on someone else's.
Exactly. You might be understanding, say, 80% of this deep dive now, whereas 6 months ago it might have been 50%. That's huge progress. But if you're busy comparing yourself to a native speaker, you miss celebrating that win.
So the practical application is clear. Consciously stop the comparison when you catch yourself doing it.
Yes, and actively redirect. Focus on your own progress.
Yeah.
Maybe even keep a journal, as we'll discuss later. Look back at where you started. That internal comparison is motivating because it shows your effort is paying off. Forget the fluent colleague or the person on TV for a moment. Celebrate your own steps.
Okay, that leads perfectly into the next strategy, which is all about acknowledging those steps, those improvements, however small they might seem.
Yes, positive reinforcement. Locking in the good feelings associated with success.
The key phrase here is celebrate your wins.
Let's repeat that. Celebrate your wins.
Okay, let's spell the key words. First, the action. Celebrate.
Celebrate. Celebrate.
And the result? Plural again.
WINS, wins.
Yeah.
Victories, successes.
So what does this mean in practice? Throw a party every time you use a new word.
Maybe not a party, but it means consciously acknowledging and feeling good about your achievements. It taps into our brain's reward system. When you recognize a win, you get a little dopamine hit, which makes you more likely to repeat the behavior that led to the win.
And the source emphasizes that these wins don't need to be massive, right?
Absolutely not. This is crucial. The source gives examples like successfully speaking English with a stranger, maybe just ordering food, or managing to contribute one idea in a work meeting. Things that mattered to Alex. That felt like a stretch for him.
So it's personal. A win is anything that represents progress for you relative to your starting point or your comfort zone.
Exactly. It's evidence that you used the confidence muscle and it worked. You stepped out and you succeeded, even in a small way.
And there was a practical tip attached to this one too, wasn't there? About writing them down.
Yes. The source suggests keeping a wins notebook or journal. Write down these small victories. Then later, when you're having a tough day, feeling discouraged, or that fear creeps back in.
You can reread your list.
Exactly. It provides concrete, undeniable proof generated by you, for you. Look, I did this before. I managed that conversation. I gave that idea. It's a powerful tool to counteract negative self-talk and helps you actively build confidence.
Okay, we've celebrated wins, but we know mistakes and setbacks happen. We've established making mistakes is normal, but this next strategy goes deeper. It's about actively learning from them.
Right. This directly addresses that fear of failure we talked about.
Yeah.
It reframes failure entirely.
The key phrase is quite profound. Failure is a teacher.
Let's say that again. Failure is a teacher.
Okay, spelling the key terms. First, the often feared word, failure.
Failure.
Braille it plays.
Teacher, teacher.
So what does this mean? How is failure a teacher?
It means shifting your perspective. When something goes wrong, you forget a word, you misunderstand someone, you make a grammatical error. It's not just a dead end. It's information. It's feedback. The failure is teaching you something specific about your current skill level or knowledge.
So instead of feeling bad about the mistake, you ask, okay, what did this teach me? What gap did it reveal?
Exactly. Did it show you need to review past tense verbs? Did it highlight a pronunciation issue? Did it teach you that you need a better strategy for handling interruptions? The failure provides the lesson plan for your next study session.
The source used the example of forgetting a word mid-sentence again here, right?
Yes. It said, if that happens, it's not the end. You find another way to say it, like we discussed with Don't Stop Speaking, and through that struggle, you actually learn. Next time, you're more likely to remember the word, or you're more practiced at finding alternatives. The key advice was to embrace the mistakes.
Embrace them. Wow. So welcome the failure because it shows you the path forward.
In a way, yes. It's about developing what psychologists call failure tolerance or resilience. The less you fear failure, the more risks you'll take. The more risks you take, the faster you learn, and the stronger that confidence muscle gets. You thank the failure for being your teacher.
This next strategy connects directly to the muscle metaphor and the idea of progressive overload we discussed. If you want the muscle to grow, you can't just keep lifting the same small weight.
Exactly. You need challenge. You need to push the boundaries a little.
The key phrase captures this perfectly. Step out of your comfort zone.
Let's repeat it. Step out of your comfort zone.
Okay, let's spell that key location you need to leave behind. Comfort zone.
COMFORT, then ZONE. Comfort zone.
Defining this, the comfort zone is basically where things feel easy, familiar, and safe. Minimal risk, minimal stress.
Right. And while it's comfortable, not much growth happens there. Stepping out means intentionally trying things that feel a bit challenging, slightly risky, maybe even a little scary.
So if you only ever speak English with your teacher or one very patient friend, you're probably staying inside it.
Probably. If you only talk about topics you know really well, if you avoid situations where you might not understand everything, you're likely in the comfort zone. To grow, you need to stretch.
The source gave some really practical examples of what stepping out might look like, didn't it? Tailored to Alex's shyness.
Yes, very specific and manageable steps. For example, if you're usually shy and quiet at work, maybe your step out is initiating a short, casual conversation with a colleague you don't know well during a coffee break.
Small step, but definitely outside the usual comfort zone for someone shy.
Exactly. Or if you're usually silent in meetings, maybe the goal is just to contribute one idea or ask one question. It doesn't have to be a major presentation.
It's about finding that edge, right? The place where it feels challenging but not completely overwhelming.
Precisely. It's the difference between productive stress, challenge, and debilitating stress, panic. You want to find tasks that are just outside your current comfort zone. That's where the confidence muscle gets the workout it needs to step out and grow stronger.
Okay, the final strategy in this section focuses inward again. It's about managing that internal monologue, the voice inside your head.
Yes, the internal coach, or sometimes the internal critic.
Sure.
The source calls this positive self-talk, and it's presented as crucial.
The key phrase is simple but powerful. Speak kindly to yourself.
Let's repeat that one. Speak kindly to yourself.
And the key adverb describing how you should speak. Kindly.
Kindly. Kindly. Gently. Compassionately.
So what does this mean in practice? It's about monitoring your thoughts.
Absolutely. It starts with awareness. Noticing when that internal critic pipes up. The source explicitly warns against negative self-talk, like thinking, I'm stupid, or I'll never get this, or I'm not good enough after making a mistake.
Because those thoughts reinforce a negative self-image and actually weaken confidence.
Exactly. They become self-fulfilling prophecies. The advice is to actively counter them. Treat yourself with the same understanding and encouragement you would offer a friend who was learning something new and struggling a bit.
You wouldn't call your friend stupid for making a mistake while learning.
Hopefully not. So why say it to yourself? This is where affirmations come in, as mentioned in the source, using simple, positive, present tense statements.
What kind of phrases did the source suggest?
Very straightforward ones, like repeating, I am learning every day, or I can handle challenges, or simply, I can do this.
And this isn't about pretending problems don't exist, is it? It's more about shaping your mindset.
Precisely. It's cognitive reframing. You're consciously choosing a more supportive internal narrative. The source says repeating these sentences makes your mind stronger. You're training your internal coach to be encouraging, not critical. You learn to speak kindly to yourself, which fuels the whole process of building confidence.
Okay, we're nearing the end of our deep dive into this fantastic source. This last section covers the final bits of advice Emma gave Alex, practical methods for sustaining momentum and accelerating progress.
Right. These are the tools and habits that support all the strategies we've just discussed. #1. Tracking and feeding the mind.
So 2 general tips for long-term success stood out. The first one circles back to something we touched on earlier, tracking progress.
Yes, this moves beyond just focusing on your progress to actively documenting it. The advice is to write down your specific language learning goals.
And then,
Crucially, to regularly review them and check how far you've actually come. Compare your current abilities to where you were when you set the goal.
why is writing it down so important?
Because progress can be gradual and hard to notice day to day. Having a written record provides concrete evidence. The source puts it beautifully. It's motivating to see that last month you could do less, but today you can do more.
So it combats that feeling of being stuck. It provides objective proof that your effort is making a difference, which reinforces your motivation to keep going. Connects back to celebrating wins, too.
Exactly. You can't truly focus on your own progress if you don't have a way to measure or remember it.
Okay, and the second general tip was about input, what you consume.
Yes, what the source calls feeding the mind. This is about being conscious of the information and attitudes you expose yourself to.
So actively seeking out positive and helpful resources.
Precisely. The advice is to read books, follow inspiring people online, listen to podcasts, maybe even like this one, that specifically discuss self-confidence, language learning strategies, and growth mindset.
Why does this matter so much?
Because, as the source states very clearly, what you read or listen to shapes the way you think. It influences your internal dialogue, your beliefs about what's possible.
So if you constantly consume content that focuses on difficulty, negativity, or reasons why learning is hard, that's going to seep in.
It absolutely will. Conversely, if you feed your mind with stories of success, practical tips, and encouraging messages, it reinforces the positive strategies, helps you speak kindly to yourself, and generally supports the whole confidence-building project. Input shapes output. #2. Active learning methods, source specific.
Now, since the source material was specifically about English practice, it also detailed a couple of very concrete learning techniques, active methods.
Yes, these aren't just mindset shifts. These are things to do to actively work that confidence muscle and improve fluency.
What was the first one?
The first was called the listen and answer method. The source describes this basically as you listen to a question, maybe from a recording, an app, or even a practice partner, and you immediately answer it out loud.
Okay, so it forces you to produce language quickly without overthinking.
Exactly. The goal isn't a perfect rehearsed answer. It's about practicing spontaneous speech. It trains your brain to retrieve vocabulary and grammar structures faster, to think on your feet in English.
And the benefit, according to the source.
It helps you speak faster and more naturally in English because you're simulating real conversation dynamics where you don't always have time to plan every word. It forces you to practice don't stop speaking when you hesitate.
Right. It bypasses that internal translation step, ideally.
Yeah.
Makes sense. What was the second method?
The second one was shadowing practice. This is a technique where you listen to a short piece of audio, a sentence or phrase spoken by a native or proficient speaker, and you immediately repeat it out loud.
Trying to copy everything. The sounds, the rhythm, the intonation.
Yes, as closely as possible. You're literally trying to be their shadow, vocally. You might repeat the same short clip several times.
That sounds quite intensive. What's the main benefit of shadowing?
It's fantastic for improving pronunciation, rhythm, and flow, the musicality of the language. But the source also notes that shadowing helps you speak more clearly, naturally, and with confidence.
How does it build confidence?
Well, partly by improving your clarity, which makes you feel better about your sound. But also, it's a very active form of practice. It gets your mouth muscles working, builds muscle memory for English sounds and cadences. It feels like a real workout, connecting back to that muscle idea, and definitely pushes you to step out of your comfort zone phonetically.
So 2 very practical techniques to add to the toolkit. Listen and answer for fluency and quick thinking, and shadowing for pronunciation and natural rhythm.
Exactly. Both require active speaking, reinforcing everything else we've discussed. #outro.
Well, that really brings us to the end of this very focused, very practical deep dive. We've dissected the source material, pulling out core vocabulary like build confidence, the obstacle of fear, and the powerful metaphor of the confidence muscle.
And we've walked through a whole toolkit of strategies from the dialogue between Alex and Emma, embracing mistakes as normal, the importance of focusing on your own progress, reframing failure as a teacher, and the necessity of positive self-talk when you speak kindly to yourself.
It all paints a very clear picture. Confidence isn't magic, it's a skill. As Emma kept telling Alex, you build confidence step by step. It takes work.
Consistent work. That's the thread running through everything. It requires showing up, doing the exercises, even when you don't feel like it. Remember the source's final, strong advice. To speak English well, you need to practice often.
Yeah, repetition is key. The source even suggested listening to or watching the learning material 2 times, 3 times, or more. Let these ideas really sink in. Internalize the phrases. Use them.
Absolutely. And that brings us to our final provocative thought, linking back to that core metaphor. If confidence truly is like a muscle, then you need to exercise it to make it grow. So the question for you, the listener, is this. What single new exercise, what specific, maybe slightly uncomfortable speaking opportunity will you commit to adding to your routine this week? Knowing that that feeling of slight discomfort isn't a warning sign, but actually the signal that growth is happening, that your confidence muscle is getting stronger.
Find that discomfort just a little bit.
And embrace it. That's your path forward.